Right. Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. Okay. So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Kevin Chia. I'm the program director for this BME Biomedical Engineering program at Hong Kong U. So what are we going to talk about today? It's basically to let you know, okay, what BME is about. So now, in the context of this 10 facts about biomedical engineering that the expert will tell you. Okay, so I will spend about 30 minutes of time to talk about the 10 facts, and after 30 minutes, and we will have a Q&A sessions, and you can feel free to ask any questions about our BME program or BME in general, and that will be conducted in both English and all right. Now, before I start, I just want to also make sure once again, if you just came in, make sure you mute yourself, mute your speaker, so that every one of the audience could clearly hear, enjoy the admission talk. All right. So thank you very much. So let's kickstart our 10 facts about BME that this expert will tell you. Now, first of all right. So I'm sure many of you have seen a movie Iron Man or any movie series of the Marvel superheroes movies, right? So first things first, okay, the number one fact that I would like to tell you today is, Iron Man. I'm sure most of you know who Iron Man is, okay? So Iron Man himself is actually a biomedical engineer. Okay, why is that? So if those who are actually familiar with the movies, and you would know that Iron Man, okay, Tony Stark, okay, his family or his father has actually built a very big, what we call the arc reactor. So this is more like a reactor that can generate, energy in a very, very large amount, okay? So it's a big equipment, just like what you're seeing in this slide, okay? And what Iron Man actually did here, okay, it's just in one of the incidents, I'm not going to spoil the entire movie story here, but what he did, okay, he actually miniaturized or tried to make the same reactor but in a much smaller size that he can actually implant, basically to put the reactor right on his chest. Okay, and one of the reasons behind it, he actually wants to make this, okay, to make sure he can actually stay alive because of certain strategies happened during the movie. But now, what he did is he actually made this device in a much, much smaller size, and then that actually can also be implanted into his chest. So, I mean, you can actually see that this is by definition, okay, is a device, what we call the medical device already, okay, that actually a device that can save lives, save the lives of himself. And then he himself, okay, over generations of improvement, he actually made series of generations of this reactor, being more powerful. And very important relevance to the medical device design is making the device less toxic or less dangerous being implanted into the body. All right. So this is like exactly what, in general, biomedical engineer would actually do when it comes to design a medical device and being used by human patient. So here it's actually in another example, which is very close analogy to the implant that the Iron Man actually used, which is a pacemaker. It's a little device that can actually help those patients, especially the elderly, who actually has a heart problem. Okay, and the problem is that, I mean, you cannot have the ability to control your heartbeats nicely. So this is pretty much like a device that can help you and facilitate the heart, being pumped regularly over time. Okay, so over the years, first of all, I mean, this pacemaking technology has already been around for almost half a century. Okay, since the mid 19th century. Okay, and over the years, and you can see that the evolution of technology is very similar to what the Iron Man actually did. A series of improvement, okay, and make it more compact such a way that the device would not be invasive, would not do any harm or very low level of harm to the patient or to the human being. So you can see that, I mean, the device.
我錄翻呢個，唔好錄呢個啦，錄翻呢個嘛。
Before, sorry, I think
錄呢個，依家11點。
點解唔錄呢個啊？
I can
有錄緊啦，依家，但係呢個你冇得聽嘛。
錄呢個啦。
嗰個未錄完啊嘛，因為開始咗啊。
呢個11點半係嘛？
但係
So I apologize for that. I think I need to mute. Okay, so I think it's now much better. Okay, so sorry about that. I think let me see if sorry, I have to double check if I can make sure everything is being controlled. Apologize for that. Okay, so I think it's now much better. Okay. And for more information. Okay, sorry. So let me see. I think I just muted everyone. All right. So sorry about that. This is, I think, also one of my first times, having such a large audience here, over hundreds of you. Again, I mean, if you have any questions, feel free to write in the chat room, or you can, raise up your hand. I think that you can also have a little emoji there that you can do it. All right. So, okay, so let's continue on. So this is actually the first, the fact number one, that let's give you a very quick idea. Okay, that Iron Man is a biomedical engineer, and to give you some idea that what you can imagine the biomedical engineer could do. All right, now before we start, I think that I just got a message that, if we can share the recording after the sessions. Yes, we are actually recording the session right now. And in fact, we are going to have another session in the afternoon, which is actually the same context anyway. So, and we will also do the recording for the next session. Okay, so and then we will share later on the website. Okay, great. So let's continue on. All right, so second fact is, when the Iron Man himself is actually a biomedical engineer, not all the biomedical engineers are Iron Man. Okay, so for very good reason is that if you know the story about the Iron Man, so he actually developed the so-called the implants, okay, for himself, okay, basically for the goods of himself. Okay, basically he's trying to save the lives of himself. But biomedical engineers typically, okay, we are basically solving the healthcare problem, not just for individual, but actually for a large community. And we're trying to basically devise or develop different technologies and different solutions for the whole community. Okay, in terms of the healthcare, especially nowadays of this aging population. Okay, and biomedical engineering, it's all about how we can come up with a new and effective solutions to address the problems and challenges in the biomedicine, especially right now we are having this aging population society. And what we mean here is, after many years later, so for example, the number of people on this planet over 60 years old, okay, will more than triple from 600 millions to 2 billions. All right, so we are talking about more and more people are getting older and older, which is actually good, so everyone can live longer. But that doesn't mean that it's always good, because you have to live longer and also healthy. All right, and we actually have seen many other occasions that we see that people are suffering many more chronic diseases, for example, overweight, diabetes, okay, and many others. Okay, it's all because of the fact that now we can live longer, but we are suffering more and more diseases, which is what we call the chronic diseases. All right, now if you actually look at this charts, All right, this is basically the most updated chart about, the world populations in terms of the number of deaths, of course, by cause. Okay, and you can actually see that. Okay, the top number one rank in the rank is basically the heart disease, or in a more professional terminology, it's called the cardiovascular diseases. And what comes before or what comes after is the cancers and some other lung problems. And you can see down the list here, so many other different diseases. And many of them are actually related to aging, or the fact that we can live longer, but then we are suffering more and more different diseases just because of the fact that we are having different types of bad lifestyle or bad habits, smoking, and other complications like hypertension, meaning you have a high blood pressure, high blood glucose, diabetes, obesity, many other conditions like mental stress. Okay, so and biomedical engineers, okay, in this case, okay, if you just look at here, I mean, we have a lot of problems to solve. Okay, and these are the very different problems, and that's actually why I said that, even when you say that you are the biomedical engineers, okay, you are not just developing any a device or technologies that could only save one lives, but I mean can save many lives and many different types of diseases. Okay, and now because of this very different role, okay, in many different type of diseases that we need to solve, biomedical engineers in some sense, okay, would not have a very clear identity in many cases. All right, now, I mean, you might think this is a problem, again, but I can tell you this is not actually a problem, and you don't have to bother by that. And because indeed, biomedical engineer, okay, or biomedical engineering in general, okay, is all about how we can apply engineering skill sets, mathematics, technical skills, and not only to solve the disease problem that I just talked about, and you can actually even help scientists, biologists, okay, or biochemists to understand better, okay, what's the working principle about our human lives and living system. And here are some of the examples that I can give you, what the biomedical engineers or biomedical engineering can actually help in healthcare, and not only healthcare, but many other aspects in our lives, okay, in many different aspects. For example, what you are seeing in this video, okay, is actually a device or a technology that you can use to hand gestures, all right, to control many different types of electronic devices, such a way that you can use this motion of yourself, okay, and you can control, say, your remote control of TV, like you can control the drone, all right, or some more other devices. It's all about how you can harness the electrical signal generated by your muscles. Just like you can actually control, in this case, say, you can see that you can control, I mean, the movies, motions, and stuff like that. So this is what we call the EMG, by the way. Okay, so this is what the biomedical engineers can actually do. Now, in terms of a bit more about basic science, okay, what you are seeing here is actually a little mouse, basically walking and running, okay, in this chamber. Now, what you are seeing here, okay, is a normal mouse, right? But in fact, this is a mouse that is being genetically modified, in a sense that whenever you shine a light on the mouse head, if you can take a closer look right here, there's actually a blue light, shining later on the middle of his head. You can see that right here. So now he's actually sort of wandering. Now you can see the blue light. So when the blue light is actually shining on the head, okay, so the mouse is actually being controlled by the blue light, and walking in this case, anti-clockwise, like non-stop. Okay, you can see that right now. So it's actually stopped right now. Now it's on. So you can keep running, and then stop right here. Yeah. So this is actually what in our field we call it optogenetics. So it's a technology that you can genetically modify the animal's cells, okay, in a way that I can use light, turning on and off the lights. I can control the brain. Okay, sounds pretty freaky here, but this is exactly right now you can use engineering and technology to understand how brains works. Okay, and this is exactly also what the biomedical engineer can actually do. You can even look at not only human and mouse, and you can look for many other living systems, like even the small animals like a fruit fly. Okay, what you are seeing here, okay, is actually a very tiny embryo, okay, this is like a baby fly, all right, when it's actually being growing in over time. And all these little dots that you are seeing is actually the individual cells within this fly. And now we have a technology that you can monitor how the flies are actually grow and over time and at a very, very high resolution and definition. Okay, and even you can now look at, down to a very tiny single cell and see, for example, how this, red cell here, which is actually a white blood cells, are actually attacking a cancer cell right here, the blue one. So these are all real lives and real-time monitoring. So again, these are all done by biomedical engineers. So you can actually see that, the applications of biomedical engineering is actually very, very diverse. Okay, we are not just saying that, okay, you solve a particular healthcare problem, certain diseases, but we can actually contribute, okay, to many different aspects in healthcare and also biomedical research. Okay, so I have actually some of the questions here, and I probably could actually save some time later on to answer all of these questions after the talk, but I can actually see that your talk, so don't worry. So I would come back to you more and more later on. All right, now, so you can actually see that, okay, it's very diverse. Okay, biomedical engineering, it's basically it involves many different disciplines. Okay, it could involve electronics, it could involve mechanics, it could involve mathematics. So you might have heard that many people have been saying that, BME, biomedical engineering, okay, it's a multidisciplinary field. But strictly speaking, this is not multidisciplinary. And what I usually would talk about, BME is interdisciplinary, and with the emphasis on how you can actually link different disciplines together and solve a very well-defined medical problems or biological problems here. It's all about the link between different disciplines. And in fact, I can give you just one example again about the hearts, because if you still remember the statistics that I show you, cardiovascular disease or heart problem actually stands number one in the charts about the number of deaths over the world by different diseases. So if I look at here, this is one of the very common types of heart disease called a coronary artery disease. So what it does, or what it actually refers to, is there's it's a very main blood vessels called a coronary artery get blocked. Okay, this is actually the main artery in your heart. Okay, when this artery get blocked, meaning that the blood flow cannot, will not have the blood flow continuously or smoothly, then over several minutes of time, okay, it is a very, very fatal problem. Okay, and then the question is, as a biomedical engineer, how we can come up with the technologies, first of all, to detect this type of diseases or this kind of condition. And there are many different techniques out there already. For example, you can measure the electrical signal, okay, from the heart. This is what we call the ECG. You can also do, I think most of you would have seen this technology, perhaps maybe some of you would have done this, check as well, MRI, magnetic resonance imaging. So you can actually look at, how the heart is actually pumping. Is it actually pumping regularly or normally? Okay, so you can actually use this type of imaging techniques. Requires actually the disciplines of mathematics, physics, all right, and electronics, and then solve this problem of imaging inside the body. All right, and there are many other techniques that you can also look into the detection or diagnosis of coronary artery diseases. And OCT here is actually a technique that you can use an optical fiber as small as the one that you are seeing here. Okay, very tiny fiber, just like a human hair. And then that is being, you can use it to stick into the coronary artery. Okay, so what you're seeing on the right-hand side here are actually the two videos showing you exact video, okay, as this probe actually navigating in the blood vessels. On the right-hand side here, patient B, okay, is actually the patient got a very serious plaque or blockage within the blood vessel. You can see all these black regions are actually the fatty tissues, being deposited within the blood vessels. It's very clear. All right, and if you look at the left-hand side of patient A, you can see, in this case, healthy patient with no blockage. So using this technology, you can have a very high resolution view of the blood vessels. And you can use computer science, for example, and then you can reconstruct the three-dimensional image. You can see a three-dimensional view of the entire blood vessels. This is not the whole human body, but you're talking about a tiny regions within the blood vessels. All right. So this is actually related to a surgical procedures that you implant this so-called stent, all right, such a way that you can enlarge the blood vessel so that, okay, you would let the blood flow smoothly again. And then later on, you can put this probe, this little optical fiber to make sure, okay, this surgery has been done properly. And you can actually see that just by this single disease diagnosis, there are many technologies involved, and each of these technologies involve many different knowledges and different disciplines: electronics, computer science, mathematics, physics, many others. All right. So this is exactly what our program at Hong Kong U Biomedical Engineering is actually emphasized a lot. Okay, it's the interdisciplinary learning environment. So especially in the year 1 and 2, okay, so the students would have a very broad exposure to mathematics, electrical and electronic and mechanical engineering disciplines. And of course, you need to understand the basic life sciences. So you also have courses, okay, in the field of biomedical science. So that will cover your foundation years in year 1 and 2. And then towards the further year 3 and 4, okay, especially relying on the collaboration between our faculty and the Faculty of Medicine, and we have a list of courses covering these 4 main areas, okay, ranging from tissue engineering, biomechanics, different biomedical imaging technologies, and also bioinformatics. Okay, talking about the genome science as well. So these are the 4 areas, okay, each of which you will have different courses that the students can actually go and learn. Okay, so you can see that these are all highly interdisciplinary and they are all connected. All right. Now, and because of this very diverse and interdisciplinary nature, so in terms of the BME training, I always say that the biomedical engineering students or biomedical engineers are always trained as a linguist, in the sense that you have to understand not different languages of German, French, Japanese, Chinese. No, it's about different languages spoken by engineers, spoken by doctors, and spoken by biologists. Because in many occasions, okay, we biomedical engineers would work a lot with medical doctors or work with biologists to solve a very specific problems. All right. And then you have to understand, first of all, what their problem is about. And usually they would explain, okay, their problem, their challenges. And sometimes they might not be able to talk their language such a way that, engineers could actually easily understand. All right. And biomedical engineers is actually, it's a very special type of professions that you need to learn and train yourself, how can effectively learn, the other professions, and in this case, medical doctors and biologists are actually talking about in their own language. And you have to process yourself, understand that, and work together and find another solution. And this is exactly what many of our colleagues, teachers, and professors in this program has been working on for many, many years. Okay, and many of us are actually at the forefront of our own expertise. And here, I just give you a very quick snapshots on, we have technologies on the neurological surgery for eye treatment, and tissue engineering, medical imaging, MRI, and laser technologies for cancer detections and brain imaging and so forth, and also gene editing. So these are all the research done by our teachers. And what I'm trying to draw your attention to here is I actually highlight some of these circles here. Now the red circles are actually our teachers, and I forgot to actually highlight these are also our teachers, and this is actually myself. All right, but also you can look at the green circles are actually highlighting the medical doctors or the medical clinicians or biologists that we have been working very closely, okay, to develop all these biotechnologies. And exactly the same idea that we also apply to our students. Okay, what you are seeing here are just 3 different examples that our students also need to learn, okay, in many different disciplines, okay? For example, they have to work in the industry as internship. They will also need to work in the internship in hospital. They have to work with people, talking about the same, talking about the healthcare problem, but with a certainly different languages. Like the people in the industry, they would talk more about, the product design, the product management, same as, people here in the hospital. We will talk about how you can manage medical devices and how the hospital can define or design, a certain medical technology being deployed in the hospital. And they would actually talk a little bit different languages. Then you have to understand that. And our student also has been very active in participating in many different competitions. And iGEM is actually one of the very prestigious, international competitions that you have to work with students from biology, medicine, even business all together, okay, to solve a problem related to synthetic biology. So our student has been also very active in terms of this kind of activities. You can see that. So you have to work with many different peoples with different background, and you have to understand what they're saying. Okay, so this is exactly what BME is about. Now, the point number 6 here. So you can see that right here, nothing much to say. And this is exactly what I would like to tell you, because sometimes we biomedical engineer don't actually talk too much, like what I'm saying, what I'm doing here, but instead we need to get our hands dirty and work on something hands-on. And hands-on experience, okay, is actually one of the key emphases in our program. Okay, so don't talk too much, just go ahead and try it yourself. And in many of our courses, and we have many different types of hands-on training experience. For example, what you are seeing in this video, okay, it's actually a project course to the students, year 3 students, okay, they have to develop a device called the pulse oximeter that measures the blood oxygen level in the human body. All right, so they actually built their own device from scratch, basically from nothing. They build the electronics, they do the programming, they build the mechanical prototypes. And what you're seeing in this video is actually one of the exercises that we are conducting this drop test. All right, so you can see that it's very hands-on. They have to do the engineering on site, troubleshooting on site, and this is exactly what you would expect. Okay, the BME training is about. And not only that, we have many other labs, locating on the main campus here and also medical campus to provide the students a broad range of hands-on experimental training. And towards the year 3, between year 3 and 4, the summertime between year 3 and 4, and the students would have a chance to go for what we call the summer internship. I actually briefly just mentioned you can do internship in hospital, you can do internship in the industry, in the biotech company, or you can do the internship in the research lab, okay, in the university. Not only in Hong Kong, by the way, we also offer these type of internship opportunities overseas. Of course, right now, because of the pandemic, we are pretty much confined ourselves within the city. And one of the flagship activities in the BME is the final year project. Towards the final year, each of the student, they would have to work on a very well-defined problem that they want to solve in healthcare or biology. Okay, and it spans for an entire year, and then they have to come up with a solution. Okay, so, and what you're seeing here is basically our alumni in the previous year. They have been doing very great jobs in the final year projects. And not only that, if you just look at this slide, okay, as I said, this program has been emphasizing a lot about the hands-on experience. So even when you just come here as a year 1, all right, so you already have this opportunity to go around different laboratories on our campus relating to the biomedical engineering research. This is what we call a lab shadowing program. So all the students that you are seeing are actually the year 1 student. They have a chance to go to the lab and learn and work behind the shadow of the PhD students or the senior researchers in the lab and try to experience what BME research and the advanced BME technology is about. Okay, and yeah, so this is actually a video I actually want to play that. These are basically the labs that the students would have a chance to to experience. All right. So this kind of exposures is what we have been emphasizing again and again and again. Now, and this is another very important point that I would like to show, and one of the take-home messages I would like to show you today is we also emphasize that over times that we probably need to unlearn what we have learned in BME, meaning that, okay, over times that we are constantly reviewing and changing our curriculum, so basically to catch up with the fast growing development in BME, because this is a very fast growing field, many new technologies coming up every year. Okay, so traditionally, okay, what we have been perceiving the role of the biomedical engineer is we are provided a problem from the medical doctors or biologists, and then we come up with the solutions and provide, okay, so you can solve your problem. But I think would be more interesting and more important is that how the challenges and problems that we understand from medicine or biology can give us the new insight to develop a new technology. Just for example, the device that you just saw in the previous slide before that, I mean, you can use your hand gesture, your motions to control electronics, right? This is exactly how we can learn from understanding human biology, okay, to control, electronics, okay? And many occasions that, I mean, our new technologies development, okay, can provide new discovery. Okay, that is something that the doctors or the biologists would never thought about before. Okay, so this is exactly the new concepts that we have been putting in our program, and by many different opportunities. Okay, because not only the experience that you experience inside the classroom will be important, but more important is in how you experience different opportunities outside the classroom. So our students has been very, very active. Okay, participating in many different competitions, not only within the school, but outside the school, and they have been doing very great. Okay, so here I just highlight some of these examples. Okay, so again, by offering them these opportunities so they can keep on the refreshing and updating mindsets about how a good biomedical engineer should be. All right, so perhaps a lot of you might have heard and tried to understand, okay, with the biomedical engineers, okay, related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And you might have also heard that the biomedical engineering is actually playing an important role. And even some people are even saying that biomedical engineers are the unsung heroes in this pandemic. But I would say that, okay, that might be too soon to say to say the statement. All right, just because of the fact that if you just look at right now, I mean, the situation, this is a very updated, is a statistic just up to yesterday. All right, so you can see that we are just still far away from what we mean by winning this pandemic. The trend is still going up or having no sign to climbing down. So yet, this is very true that biomedical engineering has been developing many cool technologies in the past few months. Okay, to solve, for example, the rapid test for the COVID-19, and we have seen many other technologies out there right now, but still, we are not that effective, okay, to really so-called win over this pandemic. And not only that, I just try to also remind many of you here, okay, the COVID-19 is not the only healthcare problem that we need to take care of. If you just look at the main cause of death again, okay, this is the similar statistic that I showed earlier on, okay, but try to put together with the COVID-19 situation, you can see that, okay, particularly the lung, pulmonary disease, cancers, and again, heart disease still rank the very, very top and way above the cases of the COVID-19 situation right now. And if you actually take everything here in scale, this is because this is not in scale, this is how it looks like. All right, so cardiovascular diseases, cancer is still very far away from the situation of more serious than COVID-19. So biomedical engineers are still having a lot of challenges and a lot of rooms to improve. Okay, and that's actually why that comes to my very last 2 points here. Okay, when I say, okay, the biomedical engineers might not be the unsung hero, but probably this is wrong. Maybe after several years, many cool technologies coming up that might solve many more problems and healthcare problems. But to do that, we really need more and more talented biomedical engineers or students, and join in this field and contribute to the field. And talking about the field, there are many disciplines or different areas that you really can contribute to healthcare. Not only developing new technologies, but for example, working with drug companies, many other than biotech companies or hospitals, or even the government and department here, like the EMSD, they also offer opportunities for our BME graduates. Okay, and they are working on very different aspects of biomedical engineers, from the medical device and management and procurement in hospital, all the way to drug developments and other medical device developments. Okay, and our field, okay, has been our program has been very successful in the sense that our alumni has been doing very great, okay, especially in terms of the further study. Many of them actually went overseas for further study, meaning that a PhD or master degree. And here are actually 4 of our very distinguished alumni. Right now, they are actually university professors here in Hong Kong and also overseas, and they were actually our BME alumni. And then another pathway that our student has been also pursuing is that like after the graduations, and they actually aspire to become a medical doctors. And this is also one of the pathways that you can think of, because now you have the skill set of the biomedical engineering and you have the mindsets of biotechnology, and combining with the knowledge in medicines, and that makes you a very unique medical doctors. Okay, and very lastly, okay, in the very recent year, we have more and more students, and including our teachers, aspire to get into this challenge of entrepreneurship. Meaning they try to start up a company based on the technologies that we develop here in Hong Kong U, in our research, or even in your student projects. Okay, and these are some of the examples that our teachers and our students found a company, and they are actually doing very well. Okay, in the sense that they have all investor supporting their developments right now, and some of them are even having the production in the pipeline already. And in fact, our school in the University of Hong Kong, we have this entrepreneurship hub called IDAY2020. Just set up a few years ago to try to nurture this mindset or spirit of entrepreneurial and innovative mindset on the campus. So they support the students if they want to pursue on setting up a company. They provide money support, they provide space support, and also mentorship support from the industry. So this is really the key opportunities that I think the students can experience. And because of that, that's really the last point I would like to show you. Okay, that the first 7 points that I just mentioned today, okay, might be wrong, okay, especially after several years, because as I said, many more talents will come into this field, which is what we are looking for right now, and probably many new technologies that we have never imagined before could appear in the future. And that's pretty much what I would like to show you today. And if you want to know more about the BME program, especially our program in Hong Kong, you're welcome to visit our website here. And we also have our social media page on the Instagram and Facebook, particularly updating our activities, students' activities or research activity relating to our BME. Okay, so I think for the interest of time, I probably have to stop here. All right, I'll overrun a little bit and see if there's any questions. And first of all, thank you very much for bearing with me, for the past half an hour. And I just realized that we have over 200 people here in the audience, which is very great. And I actually got a lot of questions here, and I try now to go back and read through some of them. But first of all, we also now in the time being, we actually have a live chat room. We have a couple of our professors and teachers, okay, in the chat room right now. I think, let me just quickly see if, I think maybe Nicole or Emma, if you are here, you can show them again the link. But if first of all, if there's any question at the moment right now, anyone can speak up here. All right, so what's the requirement for the engineering DSE? I think you are referring to BME here. So maybe I can just quickly go through the the score, the DSE score last year. The mean score is 29. Okay, so that takes the best 5 subjects. Okay, and so just give you a reference idea, and also you need to have a physics to make as a requirement. Okay, and I think a lot of the questions asked me before that, do we need a biology or chemistry? And the answer is no, you don't have to have biology and chemistry at all, okay, to begin with. Okay, and we actually have the foundation course covering the basic chemistry and biology in the year 1. Okay, so from our experience, we do have students that they came in without any background in biology and chemistry, but after the first year, in general, our students have been doing great and they have no major problem, okay, to go on the further year study. Okay. All right, great. So Emma just sent out the link for all of you. Okay, so you can actually see in the chat room right now, the Zoom link that you see here is actually the live chat room. Okay, so we have the teachers and current students right now, okay, doing the sharing. So, feel free to go there. Okay. Yeah, biology, chemistry is not, they are not required. Okay, and physics is required. That's right. Okay, yeah, so as I said, physics is the prerequisite. So do make sure that you have the physics before you try to apply to our program. Okay. All right, so M2 is preferred. The simple answer is yes, but it's not required. Now, because we do have a lot of mathematics courses, especially in the year 1 and 2. And if you have M2 as a background, then that would be an advantage. Okay, but it doesn't mean that, okay, you would not be able to handle, the mathematics course if you don't have M2. It's just you have some advantages there. Okay. Well, same apply for M1. All right, so M1, either M1 and M2, that will be an advantage. All right, I try my best to go back to some of the questions before. I think that I have just answered the mean score of the DSE 29. Oh, and some of you actually asked about the percentage of the graduates go for further study. So I mentioned that we have quite a number of students going for further study, right? So according to our statistic, that would be about like 1/3 or even more than that. Students actually went for PhD or a master degree study, either in Hong Kong or overseas. Okay. Yes, the physics again is a must. And I think that I have already answered some of these questions, and I hope the career prospect is now a bit more clear to some of you. And let's see if I have, yeah, okay. I think I, all right, so some of you actually asked about whether or not the program is available for the international students. Yes, the program is always, and in fact, our program has a large proportions of international students. Okay, I think around about, around like 1/3 of our students, slightly less than that, 1/3 of our students are actually from many other countries, not only in Hong Kong. And I have to double check the IB score. I don't have the figures on my hand, but I think that you can go to the chat room right now if you want to ask more about this factual information of the admission requirement. We have staff over there also answering this type of questions. All right. Once again, biology is not required. Okay, so but physics is required. All right. Is it good in English? Is the advantage? Definitely, because the medium of the teaching is in English. All right, all of the courses are taught in English except the Chinese course. Okay, and the students have to work with people, work with the student, fellow student, in projects, okay? And we have a lot of in-class activities that you have to communicate with, other students in real time, okay? We have projects, we have experiments that you have to interact with others. All right, so, there's a very one, okay, so first one by one. How many students are there in this program? So every year we have around like 30 plus students. Okay, it slightly varies, year to year, but around 33 or so students. Okay, and I got a good question that, how is it different from biomedical science? Well, that would be I can actually have a very long answer for that. But in general, okay, you can think of biomedical science as to ask why, okay, in biomedical research or healthcare. And biomedical engineering is to ask how. Meaning that in science, we always want to ask, okay, what's the mechanism would get these diseases? How come, this individual would get healthier than the other? So you have to get into the research and the study to understand why is that. And engineering or biomedical engineering is trying to provide the solutions or technology or the tools, okay, that can help to answer these questions. All right, so you can actually see that, okay, in general, okay, when it comes to solving this problem, okay, the biomedical scientists would actually need the help or need to collaborate with engineers together to solve the problem. So in terms of the fundamental training, that's actually quite different between the biomedical sciences and the engineering because of the questions asking why and how. It's very different. But then when it comes to solving the healthcare problem or the biological questions, there actually indeed some overlap just because of the fact that you have to work together. Okay, so I myself, okay, also work with a lot with the people in the biomedical science school. Okay, and so that's actually the main difference, I would say. Okay, so what is the weighted score? Again, this is a very good question, and but I have to go and double check the score. But I would recommend you to go to the other room, chat room, to quickly confirm with our administrative staff for the weighted score. And sorry about that. I mean, many numbers in my head that I try not to give you any wrong answer here. So any other students? Oh, okay. So we have questions about the biomedical engineering students, our possibility being transferred to medical school. Whether or not I think that we have this articulation pathway over to our BME student that you can opt for. That means that, for example, if you are very aspired to be like a medical doctor, then you are now in our program, okay? And you have to, first of all, do very, very great, and you perform very well academically. And then in your year 3, okay, you will go through, and then you apply for this articulation pathway. And then the medical school or the faculty of medicine, okay, they will actually have an interview. They basically have an assessment to see that, okay, whether this student would be qualified, okay, to study the MBBS degree, okay. And then if that's the case, then let's say if they are approved, then upon year 4 study of the BME, then you have to overload yourself, completing your course requirement in BME, and at the same time study the year 1 curriculum of the MBBS degree. All right, and then after the 4th year, okay, and then you also have to go through their entrance interview requirement or assessment, and then once you get through that, okay, so you will be exempted for 2 years. So in total, that means you just need 4 more years of study in MBBS in order to get the MBBS degree. So this is what we call the articulation pathway. But I have to sort of warmly remind you that this is a super competitive pathway, okay, unless that you are very, very determined to become a medical doctor. At the same time, you want to equip yourself with the engineering mindset. And that would be a nice pathway. Otherwise, you have to give a second thought, because it's very, very challenging. Because as I said, your year 4 study would be a very, very overwhelming year. You have to overload yourself. How many applicants last year? I have to double check, but in general, somewhere around hundreds, but I might be wrong. But again, the final admission number would be around like 30 plus students per class per year. Okay. Minimum IB score, and again, apologize for that. I don't have the number with me, but I would strongly recommend you to go to another chat room. Maybe I can just copy and paste once again the chat room here so that you can see that. Okay, so this is the chat room right now. So we have teachers and professors and our admin staff, stationing there and answering your questions. So if you have any questions about our admission requirement, I think they have a better person to ask to answer you. Interview, yeah. So for example, for the non-JUPAS applicants, and we do have interview, okay, and that will be one of the requirements for the assessment. And for JUPAS, we also have the interview whenever you put our program as Band A. So we will conduct this interview in June. So typically it would be in June. All right. So is it a mandatory interview for entry for JUPAS? It's not mandatory. All right. That is more like a sort of additional assessment that we try to understand more about the applicants. So, but for non-JUPAS, I think we do require to have the interview to look at your score and also your performance during interviews for the non-JUPAS. Okay. Okay, so let me double. Oh, sorry. I think I copy and paste to the wrong. Okay, everyone here, once again, this is the chat room. Okay, right now, so you can go there, and we have a lot of students and teachers out there. Some of you actually asked about the what are we looking for the personal statement here. In general, we want to know, okay, why you like BME, and what makes you feel that the BME is important. What do you think about the futures of BME? So it's very general. Okay, and we will look more about how you express your view, how you talk about your own opinions. So that's what we are looking for. Okay, so any other questions? So once again, thanks for coming to this sessions. I think that we have a very nice turnout here, and also apologize for the very beginning that we have a little bit hiccup about the noise we had. And if you are interested, you can come again, okay, in the afternoon session. I might talk about something different in the afternoon. Okay. So again, I would be right here. Oh, okay. So how to get a recording? I think I would double check with my staff, but do check out our Instagram and Facebook, because we will have the updates about and the wrap up of this Info Day event. So we will likely show our link of this recording in there. Okay. Okay. So if you want my email address, so this is my email address. Feel free to come and drop me any questions. Okay. And I will be more than welcome, more than happy to answer your questions. Okay. Maybe for those who are still staying behind, if you have any questions, just let me know. By the way, you can ask me in Cantonese as well if you want. I've been talking in English all the time, so I can speak in Cantonese. So if you have any questions, I will stay behind until everyone's gone here. Yes, so physics is a must. Okay, physics. As I said, because this is an engineering discipline, so we need to make sure you have a very concrete concepts in physics. So mathematics, sorry, biology and chemistry is not a must in general. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. So, okay, what's the grade of physics expected? If you talk about the DSC, I don't have a very concrete statistic, but I think definitely 5 would be something that we are really looking for as a minimum. Yeah. I actually tried to find the information about the IB because quite a number of you actually asked about the IB score. Maybe I can just quickly look at the the information if I can. But again, keep on asking questions if you want. I'll be here. Okay, how many years of having BME? So I presume that you're asking our history, right? So we actually had this program since 2002. We started this program with a name called a Medical Engineering Program. So we actually has been around for more than 10 years, almost 20 years actually. And we renamed and retitled to Biomedical Engineering. And more than that, more than just retitling our program, we actually have a significant change in our curriculum. So that's actually why we have this name change. So the major difference, when you compare to the previous the medical engineering program, is that now we have more close connection and interaction with the faculty of medicines in our program. So that's why I particularly emphasized on the interdisciplinary training. Okay. I try to find again the IB. I'm not sure if probably not here in my file. Okay, so GSE result will be postponed this year. Yeah, and I think they also would have to predict a score, like before your final GSE result announcement. So yeah, and definitely we over the past few years, especially those non-JUPAS students, non-JUPAS applicants, we will consider until the late consider them until late August. Okay, another question. When will the interview being conducted? That's actually spread out in within a period of time, but typically would be around March and April. Yeah, according to my memory. Okay, and in fact, over time, we keep on receiving applications. So we will have the interviews over time, like from March, April, or even in May. So any other questions? I guess because we have to have another event right now, and if there's no any further questions, and I probably would close this this room. Okay. So any last minute question here? All right. So now, if no, I think that's it for today's session. And thank you again for coming and joining our sessions today. And hopefully I would see you, some of you soon later on. Okay. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.